Hello Taurus, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy, their energy, and the energy in between the connection. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and then this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. The overall purpose of this reading is to look at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross-watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, let's jump on in. We're looking at overall energy for this connection through oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's start here, Taurus, with your side of this connection toward the person you're dealing with. Grief and sadness. And healing. And then deja vu. Okay. I feel like you find yourself constantly back in the same place when it comes to love, maybe specifically with this connection, or maybe there's a cycle in general where you constantly find yourself at a loss, having, like, being put in this position of where you're having to heal. And I think that there is, something to be said for, we're stuck in a cycle and we experience so much loss and so much heartbreak over and over again. It's easy for us to stop believing in the truth that we are deserving and capable of having the love that we desire. That stops becoming a truth, right? That starts becoming something that we fear isn't possible. And I feel like specifically with the person that's going to come through in this reading, I feel like they're really bringing something to the surface, some sort of, wounding or traumas or triggers or childhood stuff to help you break out of this cycle so that you can have the love that you deserve and desire. But I also feel at the same time that it's been a little bit, not a little bit, I feel like this has been a pretty difficult period and experience for you. But let's look at this person's energy toward you, Taurus. This person's energy toward you. Surrender with mirroring. With this surrender card, I kind of feel like this person is in a place where, metaphorically, obviously, they're drowning. I don't know what's going on in their world or what's going on in their mind or what. But I feel like this person is struggling a lot in certain areas of their life. And I feel like you saw or see a lot of those struggles and maybe wanted to help them, wanted to, love them through it. But in the process of that, I feel like you ended up getting really hurt. This mirroring card means that you guys really mirror each other's traumas and triggers and childhood stuff, all of the things that I kind of mentioned on your side too. So I feel like there is a deeper purpose for this connection, especially in terms of bringing certain cycles to the forefront of your awareness to help you break out of those. But I do feel like it's a little bit more complicated because of how this person presents themselves. I feel like they maybe hide a lot of their struggles, and when we don't really know how much someone's hurting or what they're going through, the insecurities that they carry, especially if they hide those with a mask or if they bury them deep down, the way that they treat us or the things that they do, we're going to take very personally because we're going to look at it as a reflection of, how they feel about us. But people don't treat us based on how they feel about us. People treat us based on how they feel about them. And a lot of times, there are things that are going on below the surface that we're not able to see, which makes things a little bit, harder and a little bit more difficult to, heal and process fully what really happened in a connection. In between this, you have manipulation with separation. So I do feel that there are some darker energies at play here. I feel like Yeah, then there's interference, and then there's wild card. I feel like the way that this connection unfolded is something that has been, and I already kind of said this, but has been an incredibly painful experience for you. And I feel like this separation that occurred between you and this person is something that you're, having a hard time making sense of, especially again, if, they're coming from a place of, insecurity and fear and trauma and things of that nature. However, this manipulation card is interesting, right? Because I do feel that there were some things that, like, maybe there was love bombing, or maybe they pretended to be someone that they weren't, or, maybe they, lied just to do what they could to kind of get you into, get them into your good graces or things of that nature. And when people, treat us like that, when those things happen, it can be incredibly damaging to ourselves and our self-worth, because we start to look at it as like, what did I do to deserve this? Why did this person do these things to me? So I don't necessarily know what went down here, but it's heavy. It's heavy for sure. And I feel like it's something that you're having a difficult time healing from. And I think that this reading is to try to help bring some clarity to this situation for you. Let's look at the overall theme of this. What does Taurus need to know about this connection? Unlocked potentials. And then you have this I am their light card. I feel like this is an energy of like seeing somebody struggling and like really wanting to help them, really wanting to be what they need, showing them the love that they, truly deserve, especially if like you knew their, their struggles and the things that they've been through, like having just so much empathy and understanding, almost to a fault. In a certain way, you do have changes will be made. I feel like this is an energy of changes need to be made so that you can break out of this cycle. And I think that, then you also have there will be a return here. So I don't necessarily know yet, like the main message that Spirit's trying to bring forward, but I do feel that, just kind of the story that I'm picking up on is you met this person and you saw incredible potential in them and in the connection, but you also saw how much they were struggling, how much they were hurting, maybe some of the things that they've been through, understood a lot of the reasons that they did the things that they did, or why they didn't fully commit, or why, whatever, specifically is your story, because this is a general reading. And I feel like you tried to save them. I feel like you tried to put the pieces back together for them. I feel like you tried to be for them what you felt that they needed. And I feel like in the end of everything, you ended up getting incredibly screwed over. And I feel like that, I've been in that position before, and it is so incredibly, heartbreaking doesn't even cover it, because it feels like you pour yourself into someone to try to make them whole, right? And then you end up empty and, almost like feeling very discarded, feeling like they never really cared about you, things of that nature. And I feel like Spirit really wants you to know that there's so much more to the story, to make sure that you don't take on, because, again, people don't treat us how they feel about us. They treat us how they feel about them. And when we take on the feelings of how somebody feels about them as a reflection of our worth or our value, and we carry that with us moving forward, we might stay stuck in a cycle of believing that we're not worthy and not deserving and not enough for the love that we deserve, because when we pour ourselves into people that we love and it feels like it's not enough, it's really easy for us to start to believe that we are not enough. But let's see here, Taurus's side of this healing with grief and sadness. I also feel like this connection is bringing, and I already kind of mentioned this, but deeper wounds to the surface to help show them to you so that they can be healed. So I do think that things can end up in a good place for you here. I'm not necessarily saying with this person, but in love in general, even if it feels hard to believe that at this time. Taurus's side of this connection. Two of Pentacles in reverse. You have the King of Wands here, so you could be dealing with a fire sign, Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius, but you definitely do not have to be. Two of Pentacles in reverse. The Five of Wands. Oh my goodness, you fought for this, Taurus. And I feel like you fought for them. Like, it's like you were really trying to fight for the version of them that you knew that they could be, the version of them that you knew they had in them. And I feel like, because then you have the Justice here. Hang on, let me see what else comes through. And I feel like, yeah, because there's this Two of Pentacles in reverse with the Six of Pentacles in reverse. I feel like you prioritized, their happiness and their needs and their healing, and that there's just so much patience and understanding and willingness to kind of stand by and wait for this person, wait for them to heal, to grow, to evolve, to step up. And I think that, it's almost like I see this image of someone, and it comes back to this right here. It's like this person drowning and you taking their hand, trying to pull them up. But in the process of doing that, getting tired, like of treading water until you started drowning too. And I think that, when we're in that position where we are trying to do our best to help others, we start to blame ourselves for not being able to save, fix, or heal another person successfully. And I feel like in this connection in general, like I get this feeling that you've poured yourself into it, maybe for a long period of time. Now, for some of you, I feel this is a cycle of attracting like other people. This might not just be one person. This might be like other, like just people in general that you try to save, fix, or heal. I feel like you have such a compassionate and empathetic energy here, Taurus. It doesn't mean that you just like put up with anything or that like you just get walked all over. That's not what I'm saying. I don't feel that at all. But I do feel like you have such an empathetic and compassionate energy that you have a tendency to take on more than you can really bear. Not that you're not strong enough, but that because you take on so much that any human being wouldn't be able to bear, especially if like you're trying to keep yourself afloat. You have your own struggles, you have your own things going on. You're trying to keep yourself afloat while trying to keep somebody else afloat too. And I think that has put you in this position of just being super drained and, prioritizing this person's needs and this person's desires and this person's happiness and being what this person needed for so long, and then eventually getting screwed over in the end, I think is something that it's like when you're in that place, it's like, I don't know what else I could have done, right? Like you sit there and you maybe even replay it all and you're like, I did everything that I could. I showed up in the best. And not that you were perfect, right? We all make mistakes, but like really genuinely looking at it, I feel as if you did what you could. And I feel like at the end of the day, it felt like it wasn't enough. And I think it's really important for you to know that whatever played out doesn't have to do anything with your worth or with what you're capable of experiencing in love. I feel like this is bringing to the surface something that is needing to be seen. Something that is needing to be seen so that you can ultimately have the love that you're looking for. Because it is still possible for you, even if you've just been hurt so much that it feels impossible. But I feel like there is something that needs to be addressed on your side to close out that cycle so that you can have it. All right, this person's energy toward Taurus, mirroring with surrender. You have a very stubborn energy here, Taurus, and not in a bad way. I think in like a determined way. And I can do, I can handle this. I can put up with this. I care about them. I love them. I want to be there for them. And like that determined energy, I feel like it drained you over time, especially if you were dealing with someone who just took and never reciprocated for whatever reason, even if you understood why they didn't, right? Or why they don't. This person's energy toward you, mirroring with surrender. Ooh. Four of Wands in reverse. Okay. The World. The Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, see, this might surprise you. King of Pentacles. You could have been dealing with another earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. This could also be your energy. It's like, yeah, interesting. Okay, hang on. This person's energy toward you. See, I think the thing that would surprise you here, there's that King of Wands too. Okay, I get what that's saying. The thing that would surprise you about this person is I do feel that they genuinely, and I'm going to say this, and I hope this isn't triggering because I want to elaborate on it a little bit. I genuinely do feel like this person had good intentions here. Horrible execution, but good intentions. And what I mean by that, I mean, especially with this Nine of Pentacles, I feel like they saw you as something that was very valuable. They saw you as someone that they wanted in their life, someone they wanted to be with. Like, I feel like in their eyes, like you had a lot of things of what they were looking for in a person. But here's the issue, especially going back to the Four of Wands in reverse, this represents instability, maybe in their outer world, but definitely in their inner world. And I feel like that inner instability, whether it's emotional instability or what, I feel like it kept them in this place of, how do I put this? If we have not addressed our wounding, if we have not healed, if we have not done the work on ourselves, the deep work, like the shadow work, the getting really honest with ourselves, the starting to analyze our behavior and understand where it comes from. If we don't do that work and something comes along that aligns with what we desire, we are going to sabotage it. Not because we mean to or because we want to, but because our subconscious patterns and our protective patterns are going to take over. And then we're going to, wake up one day and be like, what the hell have I done? I feel like that's a lot of what happened with this person. They had a desire for this connection to work out, but I feel like they hadn't done the work on themselves. Because with this Ten of Swords, like, I feel like this is what they carry. I feel like they carry a lot of deep wounding from their past, a lot of things that they've been through, a lot of expectations that they have in love. And I feel like they projected a lot of that onto this connection. Now, in the beginning of this, I feel like they pretended to be someone that they weren't. They pretended to be who they felt that they needed to be for you to love them, to care about them. And I think that it's interesting because you might have viewed that as them pretending to be someone they're not, like as a form of like manipulation or trying to just like screw you over. I don't feel like that's where they were coming from at all. I feel like this person tried to be someone that they weren't because they were trying to be the person that they wanted to be. I feel like this person wants to be better. I feel like this person wants to be the person that is capable of getting to experience the love that you have to give, to getting to love and be loved by someone like you. But I think that what I know is that nobody can pretend to be someone they're not for forever, right? In the beginning of relationships, we are on our best behavior. We're not, we try to do everything right. We try to, we're patient and we respond with grace, and we're that version of ourselves that we want to be. And then as time goes on, in any connection, as connections deepen, as things get more serious, triggers start to come out, traumas start to come out, protective patterns start to come out. And that's where the lack of healing starts to be a problem, where somebody, quote unquote, true color starts to come out, because it's not that they were pretending to be someone that they weren't just to like screw you over in the end. They were pretending to be somebody that they wanted to be, but then who they are capable of being right now because of their lack of healing and their lack of growth and the level of consciousness that they are currently at, that eventually came out. Now, here's what's really hard, as I feel for you, you looked at this and you were like, what the hell? Like, what happened here? What did I do wrong? Why aren't you treating me better? Why are you treating me like this? Why are you doing these things? And you started like wondering what it was that, like, why you weren't worthy and deserving of more from this person. And I think that this person is somebody who is deeply, deeply hurt people, right? Now, that is not an excuse. Our trauma and the things that we've been through and the ways that we've been wounded, these things are not our fault. But the ways in which we allow our wounds to hurt other people because we are hurting, That's our responsibility. Now, when we love and care about somebody and we see them for who they could be, because I feel like the version of them that they were showing up as, that, you know, you loved, or that you wanted to be with, or that, you know, you fell in love with, whatever, you know, verbiage fits your story, that version of them is who they could be. It's their potential. It's the version of them that they are capable of being if they were to heal, if they were to grow, if they were to do the work. And I think that that's what makes it so hard, is you saw that version of them and you fought for that version of them. You fought for the version of them that you knew that they could be, and yet ended up getting hurt when they showed up as the person that they're currently capable of being. So I feel like there's a need to look at this very differently. This isn't that you weren't enough, or that you weren't valuable, or that they did. I don't even feel like they did these things intentionally. That's not an excuse, nor am I saying that you don't have a right to be angry or upset or frustrated or anything, right? Your feelings are valid, your experience is valid. But I do think that when we can start to separate our worth and our value from how other people treat us, we start to take our power back a little bit, because we no longer see things through the lens of I am unworthy and I am unlovable. We see things through the lens of this person feels that they are unworthy, this person feels that they are unlovable, and therefore treated me in, you know, in alignment with how they believe they are deserving of being treated. And I think that when we separate that, that's when we can really start to heal. Now, there's always a mirror, right? Other people are a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. Other people are a reflection of how we feel about ourselves. And that doesn't mean that you deserve it. It doesn't mean I'm blaming you for what happened here. But when we can start to look at the mirror and what wounds Spirit is trying to reflect back to us, so that we can focus on what we can heal, what we can address, that's where our assignment is. Because when we start to look at those inner things, we start to have more power and control. So we don't feel so powerless, right? It's not, you don't feel as if like nothing that you do matters, or no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to experience love, because you're no longer trying to love other people into loving themselves. You start loving yourself into loving yourself, if that makes sense. And when you do that, because again, other people are a reflection of the extent to which we love ourselves, we start to look at the ways in which we can start to address these wounds that we carry and that drive us into certain dynamics. Because the number one way that our wounding and our protective patterns show up in our relationships is by attracting and trying to get people who don't love us, who don't treat us well, who aren't capable of loving us or treating us well, to do so. And again, I'm not blaming you and I'm not saying it's your fault, but there's always a way in which we can address these things so that we can heal, grow, and evolve. And that's where my favorite quote, a person who blames others has not begun their lesson. A person who blames themselves has begun their lesson. And a person who blames no one has finished their lesson. When we start to look at, when we point fingers and we say, well, they need to heal, they need to grow, they need to do these things, you're probably right about a lot of those things. I mean, looking at their energy, yeah, they do need to heal, they do need to grow, they have a lot of things that they need to address. But that doesn't help you in your journey. That doesn't help you figure out what's in your power and your control. That makes you even feel more powerless. So when we start to flip the script and we start to look at the mirror and we say, okay, what is this teaching me? What am I here? What is this pushing me to heal? How is this pushing me to grow? When we do that, we start, again, we have our assignment and we start to gain more power and more control, because we no longer look at our pain as pointless. We look at it as purposeful. We look at it as something that we can work on so that we can attract healthier relationships. And I say this from experience. I used to be someone who was in a lot of unhealthy relationships for most of my life. And I blamed the people that I dealt with for so long. And for a while there, I was right about a lot of things. I was right about how people needed to heal, how people needed to do better, how people needed to address their wounding. But again, that kept me attracting people who re-wounded me over and over and over again, until I looked within and started looking at how can I show up better for myself. If other people aren't showing up for me, aren't choosing me, aren't valuing me, aren't treating me well, how can I show up better for me? Until I did that, I kept attracting the same thing. But when I started to look at that deeper, that's eventually how I met my husband, and how I was able to finally get to have and sustain a healthy relationship that aligned with what I deserve. So I don't say this from a place of judgment, or from a place of saying that you should have known better. Okay, that's not me. Nor do I believe that's healthy. But I do think that when we look at the mirror and we stop looking at how we can save, fix, or heal someone else, but we start looking at how we need ourselves to save, fix, or heal us, we take our power back, we heal, we break cycles, and we attract better. With that being said, I'm going to hop on over to the extended. You have manipulation with separation. I'm going to look at the deeper purpose of this, even deeper purpose of this, and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Taurus, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Taurus.